The Boundary Park Alert System is sponsored by Pendle New Tech, a family-run Lancashire business you can rely on for everything fire safety related, including supply and installation, maintenance, testing, certification, alarms, risk assessments, like I said, anything fire safety related. But what do I know? Visit pendlenewtech.com and they'll sort you right out. Check the show notes for more information. This is a test of the Boundary Park Alert System. Hello and welcome to the Boundary Park Alert System with me, Matt Dean, in a pretty grey, overcast Manchester. Joining me from the Big Smoke in London is Andy Halliwell. How are you, mate?
Yeah, pretty grey and overcast there as well. No different.
Well, yesterday at the Boundary Park, it was a beautiful sunset. And did you watch it on the telly, Andy?
I did, yeah, of course.
Did you? Did they get some nice shots of the sunset behind the Chaddy end?
They didn't really, actually. I've seen the photographs online more than I've seen from the camera work at the game. It didn't really. It just doesn't really show, does it, with the lighting? They're quite the same. No, I mean it was quite welcomed. It was a quite welcome distraction. I was admiring it. It was really nice. It was really pretty. I was spending quite a lot of time looking at it. We'll come on to that though. It doesn't say much about the game. Maybe that's the case. But we are joined by a debutant. Is it? Returning.
No. I thought that was the case, but you've not been on since before Latic's Mind, is that right? I don't see you can't say anything.
No, I haven't actually been on before. You probably got me mixed up with my brother.
That's right.
I wasn't sure. I thought so. I knew because I knew you really wanted to do Latic's Mind, so I wasn't sure if you've been on prior. I do get lost as to who's been on and who hasn't been on. So there we go. We have a preview of the voice there. You may know the fan guest. That's his voice. But Andy, let's do the questions, please, for the debutant.
A debutant, okay. Debutant, that's completely thrown me. Are you twin brothers?
No, he's 3 years older than me.
I mean, you are spitting images of each other, aren't you? So when was your first game, Fangast?
My first game would have been a 2-2 draw with Tranmere in the FA Cup in 1993. And the only thing I remember about that game was John Aldridge getting sent off and hearing lots of new swear words.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we were 2-0 down in that game and got back to 2-2. And Pat Nevin did a ridiculous swallow dive to win them a penalty, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Tranmere team were the bane on our lives for a few years after that. I think that's the first time we played them.
I actually went to the replay at Prenton Park and we got absolutely walloped 3-0. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Who was your first favourite player from that era then?
This is going to be a random one, and I think it's purely based on his debut. But do you remember Lee Richardson, who played just after we got relegated from the Premier League? And he just used to always score some. I think the start of his time with us, he scored some spectacular goals, and I was just in awe of those. Players that score goals like that, you tend to capture your imagination, especially when you're young.
Scored 2 on his debut at Boundary Park against Charlton on the opening game of the season that were both absolute rockets from about 30 yards out. And he was Mike Milligan's replacement after Mike Milligan had took the shit for the second time, which I've never really forgiven him for.
He was quite cool looking as well with his long hair, weren't he? And his beard. He had he looked a bit like a rock star, didn't he? Like rock star footballer kind of vibes. So he can kind of cool guy.
Good player. Could have done with him yesterday in midfield. What is your favourite ever away game?
Right, it's going to be another random one.
Good.
I'm not including the obvious ones, but
that's good. My
favourite away game, and I've really thought about this, but it'll have to be when we beat Sheffield United 3-2 at Bramhall Lane under Paul Dickoff. And at the time, I was at uni in Sheffield at the time, and my student house was about as far away from Bramhall Lane as the top of Sheepfoot Lane is to Boundary Park. And the irony is, because it was and it was such an unexpected result, and we won it in the last minute with a Coochie penalty, and we went absolutely bananas. And I couldn't get back to my house. The police wouldn't let me. It was so I literally went straight from the game right out in Sheffield afterwards, and stumbled home at about 3:00 in the morning to the scene of the crime almost.
Yeah, I'm gutted about that one because for some reason there's some grounds that you just haven't been to. Sheffield United, I've never been to Bramall Lane, and that's bizarre, really. But my mates went. I'm watched. So was it Dickoff era? So I'm not sure. Maybe I was living in Ireland at the time. I think
March 2012.
Yeah, so I was living in Ireland at the time, and I know that Tom, my mate, and Simon, brother, and Adam, they all went, and they had an absolute mental day. And it was. I think that would probably be one of my brother's favourite away days. I'm gutted that I missed that one.
I had a couple of mates.
Said it was fantastic.
I had a couple of mates who were Sheffield United fans as well, and I think that it was their first season in League One, and I think we sort of felt it recent years in the National League. They were a bit like, "What are we doing here?" So they thought they'd turn us over easily, and we pulled off a bit of a shock result. Didn't mean it.
While they were down in that league, we got a couple of draws there as well. I think they only beat us once in about 4 years where they were in the third.
Yeah.
It's funny you say you've never been. Sheffield, I've been to Bramall Lane about 11 times.
I know, it's mad. It's just not. It's just one of those things that it's weird. I've just never made it there. I don't know why. But like I said, I was living in Ireland at the time. That didn't help when they came down to League One. But but they're on course. Them and Sheffield Wednesday for going to League One together, aren't they? As it stands at the minute. So we'll have to see what unfolds. But that'd be meant that, especially if they both hung around there for a bit and give us time to get up into League One. That'd be fantastic.
I think that season that them and Wednesday came down, there was Doncaster and Barnsley went up. So Doncaster and Barnsley were in the Championship, and Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday. So it's probably a bit like, I knew a few people who supported local teams in that area. It's a bit like us and Stockport being in the Premier League. I mean, it wouldn't happen, but us and Stockport being in the Premier League and United City being in the Championship, it was a little bit like that,
Yeah. Well, we can dream, can't we?
Yeah.
And then the last question is, give us a little known fact about yourself.
Well,
you've got a brother who looks like a twin that's not a
twin. For a while, I used to write a blog called "Don't Shoot From There, Gary." I wrote that sort of early 2010s. Probably had a bit more time on my hands as a student, I got feedback from Lee Johnson read it, and also the Peterborough owner. What's he called? McAnthony.
McAnthony. Yeah.
Because I had a friend of a friend was like working at Peterborough at the time, and I did like an interview with an opposition fan. But I did it for a while, but then it got to a point where I started to fall out of love Athletics a little bit, sort of towards the mid 2010s, around 2015, around about the time Lee Johnson left, and I've not gone back to it basically.
So it was a Latics blog, was it?
Yeah, it was called "Don't Shoot From There, Gary," because when we beat Everton, I remember hearing someone say, "Don't shoot from there, Gary," and the rest is history.
Well, hopefully you've fallen back in love with it a bit in the recent couple of years, which is why you're on here. But so tell everybody, who are you?
My name's Tom Fenton. My brother's James Fenton. He's Glossop Latic, not me. I used to have a Glossop Latics flag, which I've still got, but on the O and the Blues, I've not been on O and the Blues for years. Glossop Latic is my brother, not me.
It's quite a while ago, Andy, isn't it? Since your brother was on, I think, thinking about it now, it seems like it feels like a long time ago. Anyway.
Possibly the first season we did it, I think.
Yeah. It's hard to recall. 6 seasons in, many guests later, but you're very welcome, Tom. Yeah. You've been chatting to me. You sort of updated me on like how you're getting on a Latics Mind. You're very keen to do Latics Mind, so I'm going to build this up all the way through the podcast just to put extra pressure on you.
It's funny you should say that, and this sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but it's gotten a bit harder this year.
Well, how many questions have we got through now, Andy? Our supercomputer churns them out at some rate.
Well, it's difficult to tell because I didn't actually keep the first season and a half's worth of questions. Once I used them, I just discarded them. But then I started to keep them, and the question number that's the first one that's going to be read out today is question number 433. So that's probably going back 3 seasons, I would think now.
I think it's just the way my brain works. I think it was Barrow Brain, the comedian, said nostalgia is like heroin when you reach a certain age. And certainly when we had the pandemic and we had a lot of time on our hands, I mean, I watched so much retro football back then when there was no football on. So, I just, I love doing stuff like pub quizzes and stuff.
Yeah, well, you got a good chance then. Got a good chance of doing well. It'd be nice to have another contender up at the top of the table. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, Tom. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll come on to that. But first of all, we've got the prospect of discussing the Sky featured game from yesterday. They obviously knew what they were doing when they picked this one out as a potential for TV. It had glamour written all over it. Oldham Athletic versus Barrow. On a autumnal Saturday evening. It lived up to expectations with no goals for the cameras. It was nice to see the proper cameras there, actually. There's one at the back of the Rochdale Road end. They were in each corner of the ground and in the main stand. But no goals for them to capture, unfortunately. Tom, did you go to the game?
Yeah, I was there with my brother and an old schoolmate of mine, and his sort of experience of watching football is watching Man City every week. I don't think he has a season ticket anymore, but he said he was quite impressed with it. And he said it as a 0-0, he said he's seen a lot worse 0-0 draws.
I think that's true. There have been worse 0-0 draws, but it's still a 0-0 draw.
Yeah,
at home to Barrow, who I thought were. I'm going to be really kind to them and say they were bang average, but they were probably worse than that.
Can I read some stats out to you?
Yes, please.
We had 18 shots in the game, 4 on target. They had 6, 2 on target. We had 57% possession. They had 43% possession. We had 238 passes in their final third compared to 115 for them. Touches in opposition box, we had 25 to their 11. And your favourite stat, of course, expected goals. Expected goals for us was 1.34 and expected goals for them was 0.65.
I tell you that by the end of the game, well, not by the end of the game, by a certain point in the game, I expected no goals from Latics. My expected goals was 0. It was we are not going to score here in the same way that we got one back against Notts County, but it was like there's no way we're going to score enough goals to get back into this game. So, yeah, it's an issue. Putting the ball in the net. It's the hardest thing in football. We were unlucky. Like Mellon was unlucky when he hit the post in particular. Will Sutton had a really, really good chance right at the end, a header. He did everything right insofar as, you head it down, you keep it on target, but he just headed it straight to the keeper. Didn't really have any power in it. And it was just another one of those days, unfortunately. Has anyone got any? We'll have a listen to Mickey as we always do, see what he thought of it. But has anyone got any critiques that they'd like to offer in advance of that?
Well, it's quite funny, isn't it? Because in the various chat groups that every fan will be in, you'll get varying opinions from different people. We had a few, last night. Dave and I didn't necessarily see the game in exactly the same way, although there's nothing necessarily that surprising about that.
No.
And I've seen loads of stuff as having a good scroll through social media after the match and looking at, I think probably every single player on the pitch at some stage caught for some cop from at least one fan somewhere, which probably shows you that nobody stood out greatly, and nobody did a really bad job that everyone was sort of singling out the same person. People see it in different ways. I mean, the thing for me that I noticed in the first time, I really liked the look of that Elliot Newby on the left-hand side for Barrow. I thought he was really dangerous. Every time he got the ball, he was direct, he was fast, he was a bit tricky, he was getting some lovely balls into the box. But then I'm asking myself the question, is Regan Ogle, is he fit? Fully fit? Is he match fit? He looked a little bit off the pace. Regan Olga's getting beat a lot down our right side, I think, and a lot of balls getting to the box. He's not blocking enough. He got turned a few times. He skinned him once. I'm a bit worried about that side. Robson's a much more comfortable left back on our left. You don't see much coming down the opposition right in the game since he's been in. So I think that's possibly a little bit of a concern. And obviously in the middle of the park, we've been talking recently about the whole Tom Conlon, Ryan Woods thing in the middle. One of them probably has to get dropped to try and get Payne and Pet back into the side. Well, that's been forced upon us now, and we wish Tom Conlon all the best. Hopefully we do see him in a Latics shirt, because 9 months out at the end of his contract, we'll see where that goes. That's kind of forced upon him. But putting in Payne, I'm still unsure whether Payne's an attacking midfielder, whether he's another defensive midfielder, really. I don't really like Tom Pett on the right-hand side of midfield, rather because that's where he's pushed out of the way a little bit. I'd like him to be tucked in the centre a little bit more, where he can affect play and he's dinky little turns and goes around corners and stuff. I was pleased to see Hannon back in the side. I thought Hannon did okay, nothing spectacular, but he doesn't give the ball away very often. If you watch him, he's really good on the ball, lovely touches and turn of pace. And so, yeah, we just lack some obvious creativity. That ball from Woods through to Mellon from that free kick was him watching the play in front. We don't have many incisive cutting passes through the middle. Having said that, we still created enough chances to win. So we're not putting them away. I've got another stat for you before we get to Mickey. This was also on the TV last night. I thought it was another pretty interesting. Well, I've got a couple, but there's still on the XG, I'm afraid. They do this sort of XG performance against, in effect, actual. So what is the difference between the actual number of goals scored and your expected number of goals over the course of the season? And we are 9.9 goals behind where the supercomputer has calculated we should have been, which is the biggest gap between actual and expected in the league. Crawley at 7.9, Accrington at 4.1, and Newport at 3.1. All teams near the bottom, of course, but ours is by far and away the largest. So it continues to show that we're profligate, really, with the chances that we create. Isn't it?
How many goals have we scored at this point, Andy?
It's a great question, and I probably should have looked that up before you did it. Play Mickey Mellon's interview, and I'll have it ready for you when you come back.
Yeah, okay.
We're the fire experts, fire safety experts at Pendle New Tech. We train fire marshals, fire safety marshals at Pendle New Tech. Pendle New Tech have fire experts across the UK covering all your local and national needs. With over 100 years experience in the fire safety industry, you know that you can trust Pendle New Tech. Right, enough of that now.
Mickey, I guess that was a frustrating evening overall.
Yeah, I think every day, certainly we watched it at home, or obviously every day we'd have to see it. We were a better team at everything, apart from we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. You've got to score goals. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist. You've got to score goals to take chances to win games. But in terms of performance and ask of everything that we wanted to be good at, we were very, very good. Kept them under massive pressure the second half as well. They looked a wee bit, you're thinking, well, this on turnovers now and again, you think they look a wee bit threatening, you might get sucker punched, but the boys dealt with it very, very well. Like I say, the only thing that was missing was the finishing touch.
I think we did everything but the finishing touch, didn't we, in the end?
Yeah, I think we'd have to be fair and say that. And coming off the back of a sort of tough week and losing Tom, the lads showed an awful lot of character to go and put a performance on like that. considering which we've sort of come through, because he's a close member of the group, Tom. But the players did what they have to do and put on a performance like that. But like I say, we just needed that little bit of, I don't know, I don't like saying luck, because I don't know, but a wee bit of finishing quality that was away from us. But we'll take a lot of positives out of it. I think we would have to say that Barrow will be absolutely delighted by getting something out of it, and we got it that we only got a draw. So that probably tells you the story.
It's always difficult when a visiting team comes like that and just shuts up shop.
I think that shows sort of what people maybe think that Oldham are now. We have to remember that we've only just been promoted into this division, and everybody that we're playing against, except for Barnet, are more experienced than sort of us. We'll take a wee bit of building again. So yeah, that just shows you the quality that people obviously think that we have, that are delighted to get away with a 0-0. So we've got to be good enough to put the ball back in the net, score goals to win games.
You touched on Tom, and obviously without Donovan at the back. Pleased with the way we responded in their absence tonight?
I am, yeah, because we have quite a few niggling injuries, and to lose to. I mean, Pet, we didn't play Pet against Notts County because he was injured. He came on, but he's still got his niggling ankle injury. So we're trying to nurse that as well. So we're trying to make sure that we keep as many players fit as possible. The game on Tuesday night as well absolutely didn't go the way that we thought it was going to go in terms of resting people up, trying to get people match timing through. But they've gone out tonight and they've put on a really good performance. As you've seen, Regan Ogle was running on empty, but I think he does a good hour. But we're looking in a good place. We just have to, like I say, with the risk of repeating myself, I'll just got to put the ball in the back of the net. And we had opportunities to be able to do that, which would have probably have changed everything. Well, in fact, it would have been the first goal. They maybe have to commit a wee bit more, and maybe that opens them up a wee bit more, but it wasn't to be.
Good to see Joe Garner out there as well.
Yeah, great to get Joe back. We wanted to get him some game time on Tuesday night, but weren't able to because of the way that things panned out in the end. So he's trained very hard the last few days, and yeah, he was ready to come on and make an impact like he did. He came on and did what Joe Garner does for us, showed us a character and that experience, and no, it's good to have him back.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bit short and sweet there with the interview with Mickey Mellon. I'm just obviously Andy's gonna. Oops. Are you there, Andy?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, you're there now. I think it froze for a sec. Yeah, so I want to come back to this point in a minute. You can tell us how many goals we've scored, Andy. You've done your research there. But just, look, I want to see Tom Pett in the team, and I want to see him playing centre midfield because he's the best central midfielder that we've got with the ball. I don't want to see him out on the right-hand side. He's got an injury, which the risk is playing him with an injury. He's going to get worse. So I'm just thinking, looking at the other players that we've got, Kean Morris, why can't he play? Ollie Hammond, why can't he play? Is Charsley fit? Why can't he play? I want our best players on the pitch, but I don't want our best players on the pitch if it's going to put them at risk of being injured for even longer. It seems like, Caprice could have played out on the right-hand side yesterday, right midfield, played as a winger. There are other Josh Hawkes, O'Grady Mackin, we still haven't seen. So I'm sure he doesn't want to change his team around too much, but it seems like it's a bit risky, isn't it? Putting players out that have you don't really want to play when we've already got key players injured like Tom Conlon now.
Well, he also said in the GMR interview, I think, that he didn't play Tom Pett at Notts County because of his injury. But then why did he play him 90 minutes against Rotherham in the Virtu Trophy in the week? Because he did. If he was injured, surely saving him for the weekend for the league game was more important than that particular cup game. He didn't have to play him because there's that rule about having to play 4 players, I think, from the starting lineup of the week before or the game before he was on the bench and that's counted. So
There's plenty of other players that need minutes in the legs, isn't there, for midweek? So
I was a bit bemused by that as well, if I'm honest. So just come back to the question you asked before we went to that. We've scored 10 goals. I should have known that because our goal difference is +1, which means we've conceded 9. There are only 4 teams in the league that have scored less than us. Barrow and Shrewsbury 9, Cheltenham and Accrington 7. But there isn't a single team in the division that has conceded less than us. In fact, everybody's in double figures apart from us, which brings me back to the last stat from yesterday, which was, I've now got to find the blooming thing because I've gone to something else. In the league, we've conceded the least number of goals of 9. We have the highest number of clean sheets at 5. Matt Hudson has got the highest save ratio percentage of 77% shots to saved. We've won more aerial duels, 362, than any other team in the league. So we're doing something right. That's everything right.
That's the foundation. That's the foundation that successful teams are built on. So that's all really good. That's really positive. I'm really happy with that. It just comes down to scoring goals, doesn't it? Unfortunately, we're not able to do it. Good to see Joe Garner back because he was so good during the playoff campaign. He did what you'd expect Joe Garner to do: come on, win free kicks, get booked for diving. That was about it, really. But good to see him back on the pitch. I'm not convinced with Quigley. He had a shot, which I think after that, who was it? Was it Mellon at the post? But to be fair to him, there was about 4 players in between him and the goal, but he got it on target. But it was easily saved. Yeah. There's just not enough punch in front of goal. What do you want to say, Tom?
No, just my brother made a good point about Quigley. I noticed a lot this season. He gets his shirt pulled a hell of a lot, and I just feel as though he's maybe a bit too nice at times, and maybe he needs to go down a bit more, be a bit more of an S-house, if that's the right
Tom,
word.
there was that incident in the first half yesterday. It was like one of the first, really, really early on. Their defender was absolutely yanking at his shirt. Yeah. It was over near the main stand side. Everyone could see it. But what Quigley doesn't do is go down with his arms out, going and draw attention to it. Fondop does that all the time, but Garner does it. But you're right. It was a blatant foul. He's got to go down and draw the attention of the referee to it.
Maybe Garner can teach him 1 or 2 things. I mean, but there was one last week. I mean, last week at Notts County, mate, what a brilliant performance. But I do seem to recall there was a. Because there's been a few times this season, I'm thinking to myself, is shirt pulling now allowed in football?
Oh, it's driving me mad. It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's
all the time.
It seems to be happening all the time.
Yeah. And it's just the most unsophisticated, there's think of the sort of the best defenders, they have ways of the dark, initiating the dark arts, but shirt pulling is just basic. It's just lazy, and it's just a blatant foul. They need to nip it in the bud. But it was just frustrating yesterday. I think like you, Andy, it wasn't that we played really badly, but it's just not being able to find that cutting edge against bang average sides like Barrow at home that worries me a little bit. And then he brings Fondop on with 10 minutes to go, puts him out right, which was, that didn't seem to make much sense to me. That's
the other thing that we were talking about. Is so Hannon is predominantly right-footed, right? And he's playing in left side of midfield. Tom Pett is a central midfielder, and he's playing in right side of midfield. So we don't have any obvious and natural width to get balls into the box. You kind of rely on overlaps. Robson does pretty well getting down the left-hand side. Maybe Ogle had a bit more to think about with Elliot Newby, I thought, yesterday, so probably was a bit more circumspect with bombing forward. But we're just not delivering balls into the box. Woods, I said this about Notts County last week. People were getting on Woods' back for a few balls that were delivered into the box that weren't pinpoint or good enough. And the same yesterday, there's a couple of audible sort of groans when he put a ball in that didn't really work. But for me, he's one of the only few players who will actually try and get the ball in the box, because everybody comes back inside. Everybody bottles out the cross. There's not enough crosses going into the box.
I don't think there's enough of the right types of crosses going in the box, Andy. I think like when Woods was doing it yesterday, just lofting balls into the box. Like I want to see, and Mellon said it himself. The kind of football he wants to see: getting into the byline and whipping balls that people can attack, like balls lofted into the box for like people jumping up and winning flick-ons. That's just it's not threatening enough. So I think we've got to get the right types of balls into the box, and we've got to get the right people attacking them with their heads. And also we've got to start finding more through balls. We've got to start. I was watching in the first half, we were getting the ball and we were trying to get it wide when we need to just sort of like, Tom Pett needs to be up further up the pitch, looking for through balls, getting Mellon on the shoulder and turning and actually having something to run directly at the goal onto, like he did in the second half, where he had a couple of those opportunities where, one he collided with the keeper and he was never really going to be able to get it on target. The other one he hit the post. But you've got to get, like when Drummond, he didn't play today, but he's still getting a mention. But he gets in and he's facing the goal, and Mellon was facing the goal the other week. Was it Bromley when or Barnet, sorry, where we had the those chances with the one-on-ones. That's what you want. You want to be facing the goal with the ball at your feet. And I think it's a difficult situation at the minute in terms of, and I think the fans feel it. I don't think like the fans again yesterday stayed behind the team. Really encouraged the team all the way to the end. Not frustrated, but not angry, not annoyed. We are doing enough to win games, but we're not winning them. And I think it's frustrating in that respect. He's like, I feel like we could have done more. I feel like there are some players that aren't being utilised in the squad, which, maybe would have given the team a little bit more balance and maybe create better quality chances. Because I think, although you mentioned how many shots, was it 18? How many were actually on target, did you say? 4, which is that's not quality chances then, is it? We keepers making saves and things like that. I don't know how many saves did he have to make, the keeper. It wasn't a great deal, was it? So it's about creating quality chances. Like those stats kind of flatter to deceive a little bit, don't they? It's kind of, we've got to create better chances.
I do wonder whether he's been pretty consistent with a back four, hasn't he, this season? I do wonder whether it's worth having a look at a back three, particularly if that was out for a couple of weeks, just to try and get an extra body in the middle.
I thought that yesterday. With Barrow, because they had no threat. We didn't have to worry about
played
Barrow
with one striker,
in the second half.
They played with one striker.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
I mean, just get chaos, get Quigley and Fond up in the middle, get Mellon playing off them, and just try and or something. But it didn't really sort of. He doesn't seem like first substitution was all go for Caprice, right back for a right back, and it kind of is. It's kind of a bit predictable. There's not kind of like, right, I'm going to make 3 changes. We're going to throw something completely different at him for the last 20 minutes. He's, and I think that's what kind of frustrates me a little bit. That because although we had a lot of pressure, we had a lot of the ball, we had some chances, we didn't look like scoring. We didn't. I was not confident. I would have left at 10 minutes to go, thinking I'm not going to miss a goal. I just didn't feel like we were going to get a goal. And I think, there is players. There are threats on the bench. Let's try something a bit different. Because one win at home again so far now is where. How many games is it? Have it 5 games at home? Is it 1 in 5 or 1 in 6?
1 in 6, I think, isn't it?
It's not good. We've got to start winning these games at Boundary Park against these pretty average teams. But look, Mellon's is as frustrated, if not more frustrated than we are. So we're all in the same boat, I suppose. What do you think the difference is, Tom? Like, what is there anything that Mellon can do personnel wise to make us more lethal at home, or is?
I was thinking about the goals. I mean, I don't know on stats on goals, but there don't seem to be a lot of goals coming from midfield. I look at the midfield yesterday, thinking, is any of the players in there? There are a lot of lot of good creators. You know, like there are players you could put good balls in, but like it's like Notts County's second goal last week. I think was that a midfielder who scored it. I can't see that. I can't see with the players we're playing at the minute. I can't see anyone coming in beyond like a younger Nathan type who sort of comes in beyond the strikers, or will have a bit of a dig and get an early shot in, catch the goalkeeper off guard. There doesn't seem to be anyone prepared to have a shot. It's like a bit of an old-fashioned statement, but
that's what I think is the Kai Payne experiment in that position. I think he's trying Kai Payne further forward. I'm just not convinced at the minute. He's only a young lad. You've got to give him a chance. He's just come back from injury. There's a whole host of extenuating circumstances which I'm very prepared to be relaxed about. And listen, I'm absolutely chilled and zen. We're not going down, right? We're way better than loads of teams in this league, and we'll be absolutely fine. And I'm not in any hurry to demanding that we go up. Well, I never demand anyway. But I think we've got to. We can be relaxed. But I think he's trying Kai Payne in that position. We'll have to wait and see how it goes and see if he can sort of grow into it. But if not, then he might have to look around January to try and get somebody in that position because that position. Because Mellon, even though Mellon's playing alongside Quigley was okay yesterday. Okay. Not bad.
Yeah, he did some good things yesterday. He did some of his contributions were good. He didn't have a terrible game.
Where you say he doesn't do the dark art stuff, which I agree with. I think he should be stronger sometimes. You said it last week, and I think you're right. Fondop is a much stronger physical man. When Fondop came on, he won every header he went for. I think he put himself about. Whereas Quigley doesn't win everything, and sometimes when he has won it, he gets dispossessed too easily. You lean in, you've got a big man, get him away from the arms. It's
got to be a mental thing, Andy, hasn't it? I think because I don't think the aggression's there. I think up front what we need is Joe Garner needs to start giving dark arts lessons, like classes, especially over Halloween when the spooky season. He needs to get them in, like in the dark, get some dark arts classes going. And like I said, I think Quigley needs to get in. He needs to be sparring with Fondop. He needs to get wound up and aggressive, and it's a mental thing. I'm sure if Quigley wants to put himself about, he can have an impact because, like you say, he's a big guy. But the aggression, he needs to learn from Fondop that aggression. And we need to with these defenders in this division are big. They're strong. They're horrible. They like pulling shirts. They like winding you up. You've got to mix it with him on that front line. Has got to mix it with him. And Joe Garner, he's not the biggest in stature, but he'll mix it and he'll compensate and he'll draw the fouls and all that kind of stuff. But Quigley's he's just not aggressive enough, unfortunately. And he needs to be that. With Mellon up there, Mellon's not that kind of player. But what Mellon is you've got to get Mellon. Give Mellon a side of the goal, haven't you? That's the key. Get the ball at his feet or at his head in front of the goal. But
I said it last week. I really like Mellon. I think his movement's good. He comes alive around that penalty box. He got caught offside a couple of times yesterday. I think the first times I've genuinely seen him stray offside because I think at times he runs very well. But he just feels a bit isolated, doesn't he, sometimes? When he's got his chances, it's sort of him to create all of it. There's no overloads with 3-on-2s where he's one of them. It's just him trying to create something from nothing, and that's the problem.
Well, that's kind of like what Tom was saying, isn't it, about midfielders joining in the action and things like that. And I think, like Woods, he doesn't... for me now, he's got to just sit in front of the back four, really, like that, because he's not mobile in that way, getting around the pitch. But his job should be to mop up, make tackles, get the ball, give the ball to other people, try and find the odd, long pass and stuff like that. But really, the way I'd want to see it is him picking up the ball, giving it to Tom Pett, giving it out wide, then getting up the pitch as a team, getting more, getting bodies in and around the box. So we have done that on occasion. It's not like we're not doing that at all. So, we are nitpicking because we do have to fill an hour of chat. So it's not a case of being unduly critical. I think again, what I would say, I think Tom, you wanted to say something. You can come in a sec, but in terms of patterns with the manager, because this is his third season now. He's into his second full season, and we've had it. It seems to be that in terms of recruitment, players come in, and then some players don't see the light of day, or they're favoured for a bit, like Josh Hawkes at the beginning of the season, and then they're out again. And obviously, we don't know why these decisions are made. Kieran Morris is another one who's kind of comes and goes, came on for a bit at the weekend against Notts County, and then disappears again. And Ollie Hammond, and I understand that Mellon wants to play more experienced players. That seems to be, if he can, he will. But when you're putting players out with an ankle injury like Tom Pett and against Barrow, we should be able to beat Barrow at home with, I'd say, pretty much any of our players, because they weren't a very good team, and they were always going to be happy with a draw. So even if we weren't able to beat them, I don't think we're really in any danger of getting beat yesterday. But it seems to be the case that some players come in and then I don't know if that's the case. It probably is the case at other clubs as well, I guess. I don't know, because I don't pay enough attention. But there seems to be players there that could be utilised that aren't being utilised and given an opportunity. Because I'm still not 100% on Ryan Woods. I think he's inconsistent. I know what his value is to the team, and when he's playing well, he's a good player. But I think he's a bit inconsistent for me.
I think my concern about Woods is he sometimes, a few times last week at Notts County, and it maybe happened once or twice yesterday, but he just get caught out of possession sometimes. He's not a quick mover. I think he's playing like a bit of a quarterback role, if that's a new trendy term in football. But he's sometimes sort of looking for the big ball, and there doesn't seem to be enough movement for him to. So maybe it's maybe he looks frustrated sometimes.
I've got no problem with Ryan Woods being in the side. I'd probably come to the decision that at home games you couldn't afford Conlon and Woods, and that decision is taken now. I've got no problem in being in the side. He has got a bit of experience, a bit of nous. He does marshal and jockey people, getting them in the right position, encouraging people. He is kind of like a captain type player to have in the side. So I've got no problem with that, so long as he's got legs around him that can do the up and down running that he can't do at his age, or mobility anymore. So I'm kind of fine with it. He's not going to win you games, but he might help you see out a game when you 1-0 up. That's kind of the player, isn't he? But yeah, he's going to have to try and rejig it a little bit, that midfield, because it's the midfield that we've got Mellon up front, who's a genuinely quality striker, I think, and then enough around him to sort of rotate in and out. And we've got the best defensive record in the league, and a very accomplished goalkeeper who's growing into that. There's one of the other stats was about him this week being the best goalkeeper in League Two and all that sort of stuff. It looks like by the way, putting him on a 3-year contract at the start of the season will increasingly looks like an excellent piece of business, doesn't it? Because if he keeps this form up, someone's going to come in for him, and with 2+ years left on his contract, you're going to be able to command a reasonable fee. I suspect that's where we'll end up going. Actually, while we're here, if you didn't watch the Virtu Trophy game, Matt, did you? Because I texted you and you indicated you replied and watched it. I don't know whether you watched it, Tom. I did. Tom Pett starting with an injury is one thing, but also Regan Ogle seeing out 90 minutes in that game I thought was strange, coming back from injury, because the third goal was Ogle's fault not tracking back, but he was goosed. He was absolutely goosed his first game back, and I'm not blaming him necessarily, but he was out of position. I thought Tom Donachie looked a bit suspect on a lot of balls in, and you could really see the difference between Matt Hudson and Tom Donachie for me. I know he did well when he came in along last season, but he's a short man comparatively. And so therefore that's another thing to sort of worry about if you do lose a Matt Hudson. I think he's got to do something in that midfield. For me, looking at it yesterday, I'd probably consider 3-5-2 and try that.
I think what we have to, the thing is, you have to give credit to the midfield for our defensive record and the forward players as well. Like defending corners. How good Mike Fondop is. But the midfield is, I think the point is, when it comes to players like Ryan Wood, is in games like that yesterday, he's an important part of our defensive system, as was Tom Conlon. And that midfield is, because yesterday we were up against a poor side going forward. So if we, on yesterday, had it been a different team coming at us, let's say we were playing Salford at home, who were further up the table, got more threat. We didn't have to deal with that. But it's introducing players to the team. I think in the second half, once you know where you're at with Barrow, to say, right, we've got to break these down, and I don't think Woods is necessary. We could sacrifice players like Woods in games like that yesterday to try and put a bit more directness and a bit more pace and a bit more threat through the middle. Players who are going to have a goal and take the ball forward and run into space and get defenders on the back foot. Get them turning and running back towards their own goal. And you're never going to get that from Woods. You're not necessarily going to get that from Pett either. So that's where I think at a certain point in the game, Mellon needs to take the break off and say, all right, okay, I don't think we're going to. I don't think these are going to be. We're going to have to let's commit and let's try and just break them down for 20 minutes, for 25 minutes of the second half an hour of the second half, rather than sort of piling it on in the last 10.
Yeah, I think
that's unfair. Is that we probably did pile on the pressure for most of the half. I just don't think we had quite that incisiveness from midfield.
Well, it's the other thing. The commentary team said it on Sky last night about us having possession but not moving the ball quickly enough, that's been a common theme for a little while now, hasn't it? We pass to another player in a stationary position. They receive the ball standing, then either move or pass to someone else who's in a stationary standing position. But we don't pass the ball forward for someone to run onto into the space that the ball is then occupying. It's kind of we do a lot of that, and
there was an incident.
It slows the game down.
There was an incident yesterday, Andy, that we discussed sort of during the game, where we had the ball on the right hand side, and it was obvious that and so obviously Barrow were set up on their left, our right. We have the ball on the right hand side. It was obvious that the ball was going to go back over to the left hand side, but the pace in which it went from, I'm not sure who it started with, but let's just say Caprice to Manny Month to eventually coming over to Robson, or wherever it was on the left-hand side, was so slow that it gave, the ball went and then the Barrow team moved. And by the time the ball had got over to the left-hand side, Barrow had reset themselves. So the whole point of, when you watch England, for example, when they're playing and I'm not comparing Oldham to England, obviously, but the idea is that when you've got a lot of the ball and the other team doesn't, and you're trying to stretch them, you're trying to move the ball quickly from side to side, move them around, try and open some space because of the pace of your passing. It's if you do it all very pedestrian, they'll just go, thanks very much, we'll just keep moving in nice in time with the way you're passing, and it doesn't have any effect. And that's absolutely right. We've got to start sort of just playing the ball quicker and one touch passes. Some of what we've most encouraging stuff we've seen in that way is some of the movement between Robson, Hannon and Conlon in some games down that left-hand side, which is obviously now with Conlon not involved, but there is the potential for it there. Like you said, Andy, it's a good point. On the right-hand side, we don't really have that right back. I mean, Ogle does do that. He does get forward, doesn't he? But we've had problems down that right-hand side, so nothing has really kind of fomented, has it, in that same way down that side. So I do think we've got to be quicker in the passing. You're not going to break teams down that have come to park the bus by passing the ball slowly around.
It's a bit like Latik's mind. You've got to get through the questions.
Oh,
you've got to get through the questions. If you want to post a decent score, you can't sit there lingering on a single question for ages, can you?
You've got to pass quickly. Or answer. Just have a stab in the dark. Are you ready, Tom? Do you need to get a glass of water or anything like that?
No, It's gonna be like exam situation in exams. No, I've got my cup of tea.
Right. Okay. Well, that's all you need. That and access to your Latix Mind, which is coming up.
The Boundary Park Alert System is sponsored by Pendle New Tech, a family-run Lancashire business you can rely on for everything fire safety related, including supply and installation, maintenance, testing, certification, alarms, risk assessments, like I said, anything fire safety related. But what do I know? Visit pendlenutech.com and they'll sort you right out. Check the show notes for more information. Latix Mind is sponsored by Oldham Athletic Supporters Foundation, investing in the fans, the club and the community. Join today at oasf.co.uk for just £12 a year. OASF, because we're stronger together.
How many points did Latix accrue in the league last season?
73.
Correct. Which current Latix player has had spells at Dundee and Bradford City?
Mellon.
Correct.
Michael Mellon.
Correct. In the year we got relegated from League One, how many games did we draw in the last 10 league fixtures?
5.
Wrong, it was 7. Latix signed him from Hull City, but where did Frank Bunn start his career?
Was it Birmingham City?
It was Luton Town, apparently. In the 1980s, Latix entered the FA Cup in the 3rd round. Out of the 10 years in that decade, how many times did we lose at the first hurdle?
I'm going to say 3.
It was 9.
Oh.
Which striker re-signed for the club for his second spell in 2022?
Chris Porter.
Correct. Which Latix manager was sacked in February 2013?
Paul Dickoff.
Correct. Which winger did Latix sign on loan from Leeds United in the autumn of 2010?
Ian Westlake?
Wrong, it was A.D. White. Which winger did Latix sign on loan from Queen's Park Rangers in late 2013?
Petrasso. I forgot his first name. Yeah,
Mike Petrasso.
Mike Petrasso, Canadian guy.
Yeah, that's right. How many goals did James Norwood score in his Latix career?
25?
It was 20. It was 28. That was a good effort. That was a very good effort. Right, let me do some totting up because there were quite a few yeses in there, weren't there?
Yeah.
Quite a few correct answers.
You got quite close with a few and all, didn't you? But cigar. You were unlucky with the 70. Oh no, you got 73 points, didn't you?
5. 5. You got 5 correct answers, Tom. That's very good.
That's about a par score, I reckon, because you usually get between about 4 and 6, I reckon.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty good. Let me just top up and get make sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 correct answers. Well done. Good work. No passes for you, Matt. No passes.
I'll tell you what. Tell you about with Latix Mind. Probably why I probably get I might do better than average. Do you remember in '95 when it was our 100th anniversary and there was a book? The book came out. Yeah. I wonder how many Latix fans have read that book of a certain generation.
Can you recite it cover to cover?
I read it that much. My dad was a bit annoyed with me because I sort of wore it out a little bit and broke the spine. He's got his name in it, you see. I think there's Latix fans some fans from that era had the name in it, so he's quite proud of it.
I'm absolutely certain that both Paul Prendergast and Paddy Harwood do exactly the same, Tom.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's what they're for. They're for reading. Aren't they?
I mean, I was having a was having a discussion. I went to the Scottish Football Museum a couple of months ago. I was talking to a Kilmarnock fan, and he was saying about like how you get into football. There's always you get your dad some like if say it's your dad. For me, it was my dad. He was like, "Oh, son, could he talk about Jim Fryatt and the 1970s and how the early 70s, that was his favourite era, and not everyone's favourite era is necessarily the most successful era with a lot of clubs."
Well, I mean, we barely had any successful eras. So
I know, yeah. It's the younger lads, the younger people who come on. Was it last week's guest who said, "How are people under the age of 30 Latics fans with what they've been served up?" And like I'm the same. I take my hat off to them.
It's it's indoctrination. It's pressure. I mean, it's like taking them early and just persisting with it.
My grandma who died recently. I mean, she her favourite player was George Ardwick, but she told a story once about how my dad. There were games where, and I'm sure it's the same in a lot of households, where people get back from the game after a terrible defeat and go, "That's it, I'm never going again." And my dad said it once, and my grandma said, "My dad used to say that, and his dad probably used to say that as well."
Yeah,
it's so true. And
yeah,
like my dad was. This is the thing. This is why you've got to keep. This is why you've got to keep persisting with it, because like my dad was getting so depressed with Latics. My dad doesn't like the cold, so from this time of year all the way through till March or whatever, it's Boundary Park is not his favourite place, especially night matches. He hates night matches because it's freezing.
Yeah.
And and especially as things were getting worse and worse and worse, and the atmosphere was going, pre-Atleticos and Corny era, late Corny era, and all that, and it was hard, wasn't it? It was hard. The reasons to go to Boundary Park were getting fewer and fewer, and every season is like, I don't know why I bother renewing my season ticket. It's getting worse and so. But then through the clouds does the sunshine, and here we are. So. I guess that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, one of the other things as well is, when Frank's been interviewed, and he's charismatic for the TV cameras, and because he'll say something that they'll find amusement in, and obviously you got that to and fro with the Wrexham owners on a late night show in America, calling him out and him sending message back, and I think it just presents the club in a positive light. I think the Rothwells, and particularly Frank as the spearhead of that. He just puts the club in the PR of the club in a strong position where people know about us, more likely therefore to come. And he's saying, "Welcome to Oldham, the centre of the universe," he said on the TV last night, and he's promoting the town. He's a great sort of spearhead for that, and I just think character-wise, he's perfect for us. We don't really. I mean, some fans might, but like the whole Hollywood sheen with TikTok involved, I wouldn't really fancy it. It's not Oldham. There's something a bit more quirky about us, and I think the Rothwells sort of, and the club are a perfect fit for everybody. And so it's been really, really good to be involved. just to change the subject slightly. When this
did you want to say something on that subject, Tom? Because you look like you wanted.
No, I don't know if Andy's covering the same thing, but I literally, because I've got DAZN. And I just watched that No Tomorrows thing on. Again,
we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just come on or not. I've only just signed up to DAZN because they've got the NHL, and I watched that. So, but I watched the No Tomorrows just before we came on air, and it was the back of your necks, the body cop hairs on the back of your neck standing up when you watch it. It's I could watch it again when I finish.
I think somebody's tweeted it. It is behind a paywall, but there is somebody who's found it which you can view without having to pay. So if you get on the hashtag,
we certainly wouldn't encourage that, Andy.
No. I won't name the person, Mark Mills, who tweeted it. But anyway, so if you go and find it, have a look. But anyway, when this podcast comes out on the Monday, of course. In the evening, it is the FA Cup first round draw at 7:30 from Cheltenham Stadium. So interesting that question in Matic's mind this week about when we entered the third round in the 1980s, we lost every year but one.
I didn't know that.
In the first round. So hopefully we can try and get. Obviously, the third round is the one, for lower league teams like us that still want to aim for. But a nice draw would be somewhat helpful. And I have to say, when I was looking at the fourth qualifying round of the FA Cup results yesterday and saw, Rochdale going out home to York, I did sort of have a wry chuckle to myself that we didn't have to compete at that level again. So yeah, if you look at the draw, there's obviously we want to try and avoid any League One clubs, but we might get an early return to a National League ground again, where we can hopefully go and fill it. And
based on the home results this season, do we want a home draw or an away draw?
I'll take one anywhere really. I just like a favourable draw from one of the lower place teams in it. Yeah.
I'd quite like us to get Buxton for personal reasons. It's not too far for me. Although I went when Buxton played Morecambe in the first round last time, and because I was boycotting Latics, and it was quite open. And if one ground is colder than Boundary Park, it'll be Silverlands in Buxton.
What kind of capacity is it, Tom?
It's about 5,000, I think, but they stick the away fans on. It's like a side stand, like a side terrace. It's like half covered. So you'd have to get there early. I mean, that's if we get them, of course. I've got this feeling we're going to get someone like York or Rochdale.
Well, Rochdale are out. We definitely won't be getting them because York beat them. You've got York, Carlisle, Scunthorpe. Those types of teams are still in it. Southend, of course, could end up reuniting with them. But yeah, I
don't want any of the better teams in the National League. Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah, because I don't know if you noticed about the free up, free down campaign. They're pushing that at the minute, and I've been sort of thinking to myself, is how much better is League Two than the National League? And I think the National League, the better League Two teams are like playing the better National League teams, but that's probably only about. Yeah, I don't want any of them top teams because they'll be tough. I want to win.
And you don't want teams who are in the habit of winning, and the teams that are up the top of the National League are in the habit of winning and playing well. And the thing is that in the various cup competitions, be it the FA Trophy or the early rounds of the FA Cup, we have struggled against some really poor teams at Boundary Park. But we were shit then, weren't we? We were just genuinely poor. I think if we get a home draw against a Buxton or somebody like that, I'd be fairly confident that with the team we've got, we'd progress to the next round.
I think
we had ball number 34, by the way.
Yeah, I've just had a look at it now, and just look at the teams that are in there. But yeah, Plymouth, Stockport. What's your dream third round draw? Then we get to the holy grail of the third round. What do you want?
I want to beat Man United in an FA Cup tie before I die. Because those two FA Cup semi-finals were two of the hardest things to come to terms with as firstly a 13 and a 17-year-old lad. The second one particularly was absolutely gut-wrenching. I want to beat United. They are crap, aren't they, at the minute? And if you're going to do it, if you're going to play them, now might be a good time.
United at home then?
United at Old Trafford, please. I want to beat them there.
Yeah, if we're going to 9,000. If we're going to beat them, Andy, it's going to have to be at Boundary Park, mate. Because it's straight to penalties, first of all, innit? We don't there's no chance of a replay. I think if we're going to beat them, we have to get them at Boundary Park, don't we? Old Trafford would be nice. Old Trafford would be a nice day out, though. I agree. What about you, Tom?
Personally, I'd like to tick off one of the bigger London clubs because I've never been to any of those. I've not been to like Stamford Bridge or the Emirates or the new Tottenham ground. I'd love to go there, but. Andy's put a sort of thought in my head about United now, and I'd love to. I'm of that era. I get PTSD about that semi-final, the second one, because I was too young for the first one. And I think City would absolutely batter us, to be fair. So,
I don't want them.
And we're beaten City. I go swimming right near their ground, actually. So it's convenient for me, but I wouldn't want to play it.
The thing, I could walk to the Emirates from here if we did have them, but we would get hammered. I'd like to go back to Old Trafford, and like you say, Andy, I've never been to St James's Park, and I'd like to go there, but
I'll tell you what, I went there for the rugby league, the big weekend thing they had. If you're in that away end, it's going to be pretty cold. You're pretty exposed to the element up there.
Yeah,
right. I've got family up in Newcastle, so Newcastle would be a good one.
Yeah.
But then again, they'd probably beat us, and then I'd hear from my cousins would be ribbing it in probably.
Yeah. It'd be nice to go to somewhere exciting, wouldn't it? And somewhere different, and somewhere where we can take loads of fans. And
I'm obsessed with ticking grounds off, you see. So it's somewhere I've not been before, and like a bigger club. Yeah. A Villa wouldn't be too bad neither.
I'd like Villa. I like Villa Park. It's a great stadium. Yeah.
One of the big, like a bigger club down south that I've not been to. That's one I'd like.
Well, we've got to win 2 matches before we can even think about being entering into that draw. So, but this is nice. It's nice at this point to be able to have this conversation, because we don't know after we've played that first round draw. We might not be able to have it. So we need to have it before. I guess we can have it once the draw's been made. We can talk about the draw on Thursday on the phone, because we'll know by then who we're playing.
I think this season, I mean, I can't see us. I can't see us pushing for promotion this season. So if you're in that situation where we'll probably get mid-table, I'm like Andy, I'm Zen, but I'd love a good cup. If we're going to have a cup run, I'd like to have it like now, rather than if you're in the middle of a promotion push.
Yeah,
we've seen it. You've seen it does have a bit of a knock-on effect.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed then for a quote-unquote easy first round draw, just to ease us in. Like last season, I mean, Tranmere away was a cracker. It wasn't one that we were guaranteed to win by any stretch of the imagination, but Leyton Orient was a great day out as well. That was a really good. Good game.
I missed both of those because last season I didn't think about it. I thought I want to get promoted, so I thought, I'll book to go away. So I was watching that in Bologna, the Tranmere game in Bologna. Having some bolognese, actually.
Well, there's worse reasons to miss a game.
Yeah.
Speaking of new grounds, next Saturday is the first time at Salford for me. I've not made it to Salford before, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's pub-wise, it's a bit of a trek to nearest pub from what I remember last time. I think you're best going to Force Presswich, I think.
Early kick-off, 12:30.
Oh.
So, yeah, if you are going to the pub, you're going to have to be there early.
Yeah. Well, I think we went afterwards. I think last time, but I suppose you could go into Manchester afterwards. It's just a bit. It's just a bit. It can be a tricky one to get to, depending where you live, really.
After a draw against a bang average Barrow at home, can we go to Salford, who are flying pretty high, and take all 3 points, Andy?
I think we can. Our away record is loads better than our home record. I mean, we'd have to be a downside better than we were at Notts County, wouldn't we? But if anything, like your Cambridge performance away from home was anything to go by, or MK Dons, where we stifled a decent side and could have nicked it. We could. I don't think it will be a high-scoring game either way. None of our games are a high-scoring game. Lowest number of goals nearly, lowest number conceded. So it will be a one goal decides it game. You'd probably say they're favourites, but who knows?
Who knows?
I think from what I've seen this season, I don't think we should really fear anyone in this league at all. If we get it together on the day, we could beat anyone in this league, I think.
Yeah, I hear here.
How did the and fanzine you were handing out yesterday was the first paid one? How did that go, Matt? Was it all right?
People aren't as interested in paying for them as they are getting them for free, as you can imagine. So we didn't print as many, but I sold quite a few. They're available online if you don't think you're going to be able to make it. I'll try and take some to Salford next week as well, and we've got Shrewsbury at home, so we've got 2 games to get rid of them at Boundary Park this season. So do support us if you can via the fanzine. It's quite
and have a read of that little article in there penned by one of the contributors about Salford, because it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, we got via OASF, Salford's fanzine contacted OASF and said, about contributing something for the fanzine. They passed that on to us, and I passed it on to the group of fanzine contributors, who then one of whom wrote a rather tongue-in-cheek kind of article about Latics and Salford, and I'm ribbing them quite a bit. Anyway, they got quite offended by it and wouldn't print it, so we printed it in ours. So there you go. That's one thing to read. But yeah,
it's a strange club.
Not got quite the same sense of humour as Latics fans, obviously.
They're a strange one, Salford, because they have been. It's like you can throw money at any Northwest Counties team, and it's they don't take the they haven't got a big following as such.
Nah, let's be honest, they're all United fans, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean, Salford is United territory. End of story. And they might have about 100 genuine fans, Salford, and then the rest is.
I've got a friend who follows East Stirlingshire who knows a Salford fan who has I think he has an orange flag, because they changed the colours when they went from, I think before the class of '92 they played in orange, and then they changed it to red and white, didn't they? So they're a bit of a. I think the term is Man United Tribute Act.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah.
So in preparation for beating the real deal at Old Trafford in the third round, Andy, we'll start off by beating the Tribute Act on Saturday at Salford. That sounds like a good start, doesn't it? Right, guys, thanks for joining us. Tom. Well done on Latish Mine. 5 is a very, very commendable score. And we'll see you for the phone-in on Thursday. If you want to buy fanzine, go on our shop or weareoldham.co.uk/shop. And we'll see you all very soon. Cheers, lads.
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, did you know that listeners can now buy us a coffee or any other kind of hot beverage?
Ooh.
What's your favourite hot beverage, Dave?
A macchiato.
And how do you like your macchiato?
Black with lots of milk. Oh.
No cream?
No.
Well, if you want to buy Dave a
macchiato,
then go to buymeacoffee.com/weareoldham. I'll just have a Nescafe.
Ooh. Thank you, listeners.